everybody, it's Jeremy. Welcome back to Lucid's 2022 Tournament Game 4, where we are playing Nazca. This is turn 33. 33. 33. Yeah, that's right. You know what? I've been like taking notes on a bunch of different turns today and everything like that, so like my brain's a little kerfuffled about which turn we're actually on. It's turn 33. Let's go ahead and kick things off. At the very beginning, we have some incoming trade, 2 lightless lanterns from Ohm. Nice. The lightless lantern kind of like trading factory continues. I don't know how much longer it's going to continue. I do need more lanterns, obviously, right? And we're not doing a whole lot with our fire gems, or really a lot of our gems, truth be told. So this is a very good working relationship for us. The issue is we're running out of bodies to put the lanterns on, so we've got to kind of compensate for that. So we'll figure out what we can do as quickly as we can do it. Next up, we have completed some research. Boom! Thaumaturgy 2, done and done. What does this get us? Mainly, if this doesn't get us a whole lot, Thaumaturgy 2 is not exactly a a super mega awesome level. It does get us Mind Burn, which is somewhat useful in certain situations. But we don't have, I mean, we have Astral 2s with our Hoyas, right? And we can turn some of our Huron priests into Astral 2s through communions. So this isn't an unuseful spell, it's just not an especially useful spell. This is mostly for like astral nations that, can put up a bunch of communions, like very low tier communions, or that have like astral 1s or astral 2s on easy recruit, which we don't have. So this isn't super useful for us, but it is occasionally useful for us. We'll see how it goes. Returning is going to be useful more in the kind of like later stages of the game to do little tricks with. Not super useful to us right now. Scrying could be useful if we could ever get our hands on some water, but that seems potentially unlikely at this point, but we'll see how that goes. Really, we're running up Thaumaturgy for my favorite side searching spells, right? Like heading into getting Augury, very, very big for us, and Haruspec's pretty big for us now that we have, some nature with a Thistle Mace. And then potentially even going further for Auspex and Gnome Lore if we have a relative period of peace, which it's looking like maybe we're gonna be able to have. Then these are things that we can try to kind of like site search for the efficiency of our mage turns, and try to get back into the game via a good gem economy. So see what our options are there. We have Thaumaturgy 3 right now. I think so. We're definitely going to finish Thaumaturgy 3, and then we're going to go after Enchantment 4 or 5. This is because I'm not 100% sure whether or not we are going to be able to have peace, because of the game state with Pelagia and the game state with Vanheim and Ashdod. I don't know if we're going to have the opportunity to have peace. So Enchantment 5 is kind of like that next power point for us where we could potentially protect ourselves. So that's what we got going on. Next off, we did some site searching. We site searched with a Dark Knowledge, didn't find anything. And then we did a manual site searching in Omia, and we found 2 magic sites, which is awesome. We found a Rune of Air and a Smolder Stone. So go and put this here for site searching. And this is interesting. This is kind of like a combination decent site and combination kind of like weird site. So Smolder Stone is just +1 fire. So that's the fire +1, and then we have the Rune of Air is this. I wish that this had an air gem tacked onto it, because I think it would be more useful at that point. Boosting air magic by 2 provinces isn't bad. But because of the border that it's on, right? Like, if it was down here, right, it'd be probably pretty good. If it was over on our western border, right, probably pretty good. But because it's on our eastern border, and our eastern border is mostly the ocean, it might not be as useful because a lot of air things can't target underwater. There are a couple, I think, but yeah, this might not prove super useful to us, but it is interesting that we have it. There's that. And then we've got some battles to watch. We're going to watch our battles first, and then we'll watch the other battles that we have witnessed. So, Proclamation from Oceania. Okay, just a prophet. Battles. Agartha. Ironwood Forest. So we attacked in Ironwood Forest. We are up against basically nothing. So this is just going to be a up, down, pop. Easy peasy. We've got a little bit of Strength of Giants going on from a Huron Priest here. Actually, how many casts did we get off with that? Did we just get the one? Because this priest is... Oh, right, I remember. These are the ones that we accidentally put the lightless lanterns on, and then we didn't take them off, so that's annoying. Okay, so yeah, he gets the one Strength of Giants, and then the second Strength of Giants, which that probably got 80% of our units there, so that's pretty good. Pretty good. We lost a single Alkak Runa Spearman on the drop. Not bad. Then we got attacked in Mark by a small squad of Agarthan units. Some Shard Guards, some Sentinels, some Heavies. He's also doing Stone Skin. We just have PD here. Oh no. We have a whole bunch of Hot and Runa. They're gonna die. Stone Skin. Blessing. Only way we win this is if these Hot and Runa kill this guy and the whole thing routes. But he actually has Stone Skin up, so it's possible, but yeah, no, we didn't get it. Unfortunate. Hot and Runa are the big suck. So that was that. We lost 38 Hot and Runa on that. Ay, ay, ay. My goodness, they just needed to kill the Earth Reader. Okay, is what it is. We got attacked in Austin Glen, by a Magma Child and a Golem Crafter. He's going to cast Protection from Fire. We have just one PD here. Let's see if he burns himself. Here. Protection from Fire. He should be perfectly fine now. And there's no way we beat these Magma Children, so done and done. Okay, and then we attack in Snowford. Snowford is where we sent our werewolf that we're just kind of using as a thug, because why not? But as soon as this werewolf runs into any real resistance, it's totally dead. So we're basically just waiting for that to happen. But as long as it runs into, you know, just a little bit of PD, he's good to go. Nice. Cool, cool. Okay, so battles for the turn versus Agartha, 2 wins and 2 losses. Which I think is pretty typical of what we're doing right now. We're basically just trading rating back and forth while Ohm puts down the last vestiges of the Agarthan military. We're going to try to triangulate our forces to where we can basically make sure that Agartha doesn't have a lot of good ways to get out. So we'll see how that works. Other battles to watch. We have a battle between Vanheim and Ashdod on Ashdod. So let's see what this is. Okay, this is just a ping, right? Just checking to see what Ashdod's doing. I think Vanheim did this last turn as well, maybe? I can't remember. Vanheim's been very good about consistently scouting battles, I think, so that they know exactly what they're up against. So that's pretty good. And then an actual battle in Mushwood, which I believe... Okay, so this is where the army is. This is to the east of Ashdod's capital, I think. Got quite a few blood slaves here, actually, already. That's kind of interesting. Quite a few Windmasters, quite a few Lizard Shamans, quite a few Lizard Shamans, actually. Well, we got like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? Jeez. Holy shit. Are these guys out here? They're just gonna be creating chaff? Van is so fucking strong. he's got so many tools, right? He's got so many tools. He's got these elite, you know, very blessed up cavalry. He's got the Einherjar blenders. He's got buffs for both sets. He's got Howl, right? He's got like battlefield buffs. He's got blood magic mixed into the group. He's got air elementals that he can toss out. He's got undead chaff that he's summoning. I don't know if this is going to be hordes of skeleton or not. We'll see. Well, maybe we'll see. But I don't think he's quite hordes of skeleton yet. I think he's just, you know, creating some undead. He's probably on his way to hordes of skeleton, and he just has these guys prepped and ready for that eventuality. My goodness. This is such a threatening force. And then these back here are actual thugs. Yeah, right? So he's got several thugs back here with great swords of sharpness. He's got answers to so many things in this force. I would actually be terrified to try to deal with it. And yeah, this is to the east of Ashdod's capital. Wow. We're gonna have to talk about that. That's some interesting stuff there. So, moving on to events for the turn. We have 2 events. Unexpected event in the Royal Green. Dominion of growth and fertility has been strong in this land for long enough to let life be born anew from the ashes and cinders of war and darkness. Small populations are slowly immigrating, and a new fragile country is emerging under that benevolent rule. And this is to this little portion right here. We have very low population. I think this is the actual rebirth event firing. So just population plus 290. And then in Miratrand, a handful of gems have been found in a hot valley. Fire plus 4. So events this turn, 0 negative, 2 positive, royal green pop plus 290, and fire gems plus 4. Pretty decent. Nothing like crazy there, but a positive turn. Worldwide event has happened. Units have been healed as a benevolent star rises. Cool. Construction of palisades completed in Omia. Nice. All right. Let's talk about movements for the turn. Yeah. So Ulm is on Agartha's capital. The fort is cracked. We could be seeing... I don't know if they're storming this turn or if they are bringing in reinforcements and gonna, like, poke in their heads just to kind of see what's there. The longer they wait, the more chance there is that, you know, Agartha researches some sort of counter or something like that, right? And I don't know what that counter necessarily would be. I don't know what all Agartha could pull out. But I don't think they're going to be able to pull out anything like a Foul Vapors trap or something like that. So I don't think Agartha is going to be able to wipe Ulm. But they might be able to do a lot of damage to Ulm. So we're going to have to see what happens there. In the meantime, a lot of our movement is going to be to try to isolate these two forces, right? So with one of our armies, we're going to be just kind of like raiding back around. With our werewolf, we're going to be raiding back around. But then we're also trying to move forces, right, into locations to try to cut off these things. We would have actually won that fight against the stack in Mark, right? This is not an especially terrifying stack, right? This is mostly Agarthan heavy infantries, which honestly are not that big of a deal. The protection is okay, but they don't have buffs against things like thunder weapons, so we can deal with them. The issue is that we only have so many forces where our sacreds are, so we're having to deploy and just kind of like guess, right? So we kind of want to track these two units until we can get to a point to where we can kind of hem them in. So for now, we're just kind of guessing in Satrandith. We're going to have a little force going out with one of our new Incas. This should be enough to, once it lands in the back, try to kill that Earth Reader and anything else. So we have a little screen of heavy infantry and some other stuff. And then over here, we have Pachacuti, our super awesome Inca Chapak, or however you pronounce that, who's going to kick some ass with more Sun Guard and Condors, etc., etc. So we've got that going on. In the meantime, we're going to be heading back up to Meritrand, where we have our Hatan Runa factory to try to refresh some of our Hatan Runa, which we don't really have much of anymore. And yeah, we're moving around. We got an extra Cynocephalian chieftain, which I think was an accident, so we're just going to go suicide him in Alifia, because we don't really have a use for him, and he's 25 gold, and our income is low, right? So I'm kind of at that point to where I'm not going to keep anything around that I don't think I have an immediate use for. And yeah, so we're sending another Mount Pakwa of the Mountain Spirits. I say another. Yeah, so this will be our second one. We have this one over here. Oh, right. So we'll have Haruspec's next turn, and we have a Thistle Mace waiting on this individual. So this guy can start casting Haruspecs throughout our entire territory, and hopefully we can get a nice little nature gem income, which would be really cool. So we've got that going on. And then I think this is the last little thing. As you can see, we've got this Huron priest here with the ring of water breathing, and we're sending him underwater with some Supayas. So, you know, this is just in an effort to try to snag. This isn't even a great province. This is why we haven't really cared about it so far, because we know it's not that great of a province. But, you know, it's an opportunity for us to potentially get some more income, maybe some more magic sites, etc., etc. And yeah, I think it's probably worthwhile for us to go ahead and pick that up. So, got that going on. Anything else to really kind of like talk about from a movement perspective? Oh, we're pinging down here in Blackport, just cause. Figured it might be nice to kind of see what's there. I mean, obviously it's a bunch of undead, the long dead horsemen being the most dangerous of those, but we're trying to see if there's like, you know, 12 necromancers there or some shit, you know, to actually make it a difficult fight. Otherwise, this is potentially a doable throne for us in the short term rather than the long term, whereas Olifa and the Forgotten Woods are significantly more difficult for us to take. See how that goes. I think that's pretty much it as far as like actual movements goes. I'm gonna jump into the more mechanical stuff, and then we'll talk about the board state in the end of the video. So next up to report, we got buildings, right? Buildings, one fortress in Omia. So we completed the palisades this turn. We're immediately moving into upgrading that to a fortress. We have a lab and a temple here. We aren't starting full recruitment because we are very low on income, but we're doing what we can. And we want to have kind of like a defensible border right down here with Pelagia as best we can and go from there. So, recruitments for the turn. We have 2 Aklas, 1 Runanka or Runancha, 1 Scout, 5 Sino Warriors, and 4 Sun Guard. Jot that down. And let's kind of talk about what we're doing there. So, the Runanka is because we just need more scouting. We don't actually have that much scouting, and there's not a lot of really interesting things going on for us. So I'm trying to get more scouts out into the wider world to gain understanding in what's going on in the wider world, but also to have more stuff to watch during the battle segments, pretty much. And then the Aklas, right? Like, I'm not a big fan of Aklas, but Aklas are cheap, and Aklas we can put lightless lanterns on. So part of what we're going to be doing is trying to get as many Aklas as we can, so that we can get lightless lanterns on them, and potentially other things, depending. We have death gems. I'm considering starting my own run-up construction to do things like skull mentors, but I don't know that we actually want to go that route. So we'll see how that goes. Turn 33, eh? Well, yeah, see how it goes. Our research is abysmal for where we're at. It's absolutely horrible. So a lot of my time and effort is trying to go into figuring out how can we try to play catch-up, because we're going to be playing catch-up for the rest of the game. But there is a certain point, if we can survive to, right, where we can get enough research to where it doesn't matter as much. We won't have access to all of the things, but we'll have access to the things that we kind of need to make us comparable. So yeah, that's kind of the plan right now. Aside from that, the Cynocephalian warriors, again, just kind of power points that I actually like Cynocephalian warriors. I think they take buffs fairly well. You can give them things like mass protection, and they'll be up in the 14s or 15s, I believe. And that's pretty decent. They have a large HP pool compared to human troops, right? They are size 3, which is a little meh, but they have multiple attacks, so that does kind of keep them comparable in attack density. But then they're also berserking, so berserking is actually really, really useful, especially in the mid to late game. It can be useful at all stages of the game, but it's very useful in the mid to late game when you need to put buffs on things and then have them just stay and fight forever, right? Rather than rout. So they're kind of a big deal, I think. So I like these units a lot. We're trying to basically get up to like a 40 stack of them so that we can maybe use them against Vanheim if we need to, which I hope that we don't, because I'm pretty positive Vanheim would just brutally destroy us if they fought us right now. So, that is that. And then the Sun Guard is, like I said earlier, right? Sun Guard, or I said earlier, I've said in previous videos, we want to move from Condor Warriors to Sun Guard for the rest of forever, basically. Every turn, we're going to want to produce as many Sun Guard as we can. Sun Guard, I think, are way better in the mid-game. I think they're way better, period, than Condor Warriors almost across the board. There are some difference. There are some points where that's not true, depending on the build that you've taken, the bless that you've taken. But generally, I think Sun Guard are better across the board because, specifically, of the Sun Mace, right? The fact that it is an inherently magical weapon, and the fact that it's ×3 versus undead and demons. This is super important in the mid to late game, when blood economies start to come online and people start transitioning into demon armies and things like that. Having Sun Guards is actually really, really nice. I mean, we have a +4 strength bless, so this is a 22 damage hit. You get Strength of Giants on them, that's a 26 damage hit, and then a ×3 versus undead or demons, that's hitting really fucking hard. Like, Sun Guard butcher demons or undead units. And that's really important in the late game. We want to... I mean, it's turn 33, so we're already in the mid-game, one could suppose. But by turn, like, 50 to 60 in a game where Nazca didn't get rushed and horribly mutilated, I think you would want, like, 200-ish Sun Guard still hanging around and ready to be utilized. Because the issue is they are going to kill the shit out of demons, but demons are infinitely more producible than the Sun Guard are, right? So you need to have a very strong force as you're going into that point of game for them to be able to do what they need to do, you know? Anyways, that's that. And that's really all recruitment is. Nazcan recruits. So we have 33 Haten Runa and 2 Supaya this turn. No, nothing super crazy there. And then I think the last really tangible mechanical thing to discuss is special sites. So we found a great silver mine this turn. I say we found, but we didn't really find it, right? We just kind of we raided it. And we're probably not going to keep it. I've been in discussions with Ulm about how does this actually get split up. And I think what's likely to happen is I think it's likely that we are going to get this eastern portion of Agartha's lands that are kind of like the coastal portion. And then Ulm is going to get like Agartha proper and maybe down towards the Ashdod territory. Because I've been... this is a great time to talk about this. I've been kind of trying to see what Ulm wants to do next. And there are 2 major topics in the game right now. Maybe 3 major topics. The biggest topic is, of course, Pelagia, right? Like, the biggest topic is everyone going, well, fuck, this is a 3-cap Pelagia at turn 33, right? I guess maybe not 3-cap Pelagia, but, like, Oceania is still in the mix, but Yis is out, and we all know Oceania is falling. So we're very close to the point. And everyone's basically talking already that, okay, Pelagia is going to win the game because, the 2 other underwater nations that could compete with Pelagia are now gone. Agartha, who could potentially try to go underwater and mess with Pelagia, is close to gone. Nazca, who could mess with Pelagia, is not really in any state to do so, right? Maybe in another 40 turns or something like that, but definitely not right now. So a lot of the conversation is that, well, we're probably fucked because Pelagia is going to have time to do what they want to do. And, I mean, even if they didn't, right? Like, it's still a 3-cap nation at 33, 35, right? However much longer Oceania holds out early on in the game, right? If this was any land nation, we would still be like, well, fuck. But it's not a land nation, it's an underwater nation, so that adds to the well, fuck layering of it. And it's Pelagia, which adds even more to the well, fuck layering of it because of... the mechanics that they have, because they have things like, we're fucking pearl mages, right? Like pearl cultivators, turning water gems into astral pearls is a very powerful ability that makes Pelagia a very powerful astral wish nation, arcane nexus nation, etc., etc. So it's entirely possible that Pelagia doesn't do anything for the next 20 to 30 turns and then puts up a, 999 freaking pearl arcane nexus, and then we just go, well, fuck, right? Like, that's entirely possible, and would be very, very unfortunate. And even if they don't do something like that, right, they have time to scale up. They have time to target these coastal thrones and take this throne, fort it up, make agreements, another throne, fort it up, make agreements, rinse, repeat, etc., etc. So, part of what I have been doing right in the last couple turns is talking to people on the coast. We've got Naba, we've got Vanarus over here, and then we've got, I believe right here is Arcos Folly. So, been talking to them and been talking to not Ashdod, Vanheim actually, since they're now a coastal nation. about the threat that Pelagia is and what we're going to do about it, right? And setting up kind of like a Coast Guard chat. And there's not really a lot that I think we can do about it. They've got little squads on land. I think if I were to start like being aggressive towards Pelagia immediately and start attacking them, that's just going to lead to the Pelagia going, okay, well, time to knife Nazca, right? Which I don't think is going to be a good thing for us, especially since my ally, right, is a landlocked ally. So super not useful for us to, antagonize the 3 nation-sized Pelagia when our defense is a strong alliance with a landlocked neighbor. So that brings us to the second most talked about thing, and that's Vanheim, actually. That is how... So Vanheim expanded well, right? Vanheim had nice borders to begin with. And then Vanheim has... 1, Vanheim is a strong nation, period. But 2, Vanheim has shown themselves to be a capable player and have honestly, quite frankly, been putting the foot up Ashdod. And that's making people talk, right? Like, that's making people go, oh shit, right? Like, Vanheim is a good nation. Vanheim has a lot of territory right now. In point of fact, if you actually just count up the provinces that we know Vanheim to have versus the provinces that we know, just the underwater provinces, right? That we know Pelagia either has or is going to have shortly, it's not that much in Pelagia's favor, truth be told. Like, Vanheim expanded well, and Ashdod expanded okay, and Vanheim is taking all of that, right? So Vanheim is actually quite big. Obviously a good player with the scripting that we've seen, with the amount of additional tools that they're putting into their kits, etc., etc. So that's caused a lot of talk. Talk to the point to where my alliance partner Ulm and I have been kind of discussing with some of the other nations of the game, mainly Jotunheim, whether or not something can and or should be done to deal with Vanheim. And I don't know what that answer is yet. I don't know if anything is going to happen, right? Obviously, from the geographical territorial gains that Vanheim has made, the logical step for them is either me, right? So that they have this kind of like triangular set, or Jotunheim, which is over here, right? So that they have this triangular set. So I think both Jotunheim and I are like, ruh-roh, Raggy. And I think Ulm is very much in this. It's early to mid-game. Ulm is at the point where Ulm is strong, right? And Ulm is like, yeah, I want to hit. We're going to finish up Agartha, and then we're going to find a new target. So, Ulm has said nothing to me to impress the concept to me that they are going to turn on me, right? Though it's entirely possible. And probably logical, honestly, because I am relatively weak at this point. They could probably take me fairly easily. But they haven't said anything to make me think that that's what's going to happen. And they have positively, or responded positively to the idea that, Vanheim is a threat. I think they're also being opportunistic, very opportunistic, which I think Ulm needs to be, right? You are strong in the early to mid-game as Ulm, but you also need to be smart about your tactics and your targets, right? Because Ulm has to get big enough, quick enough to become uncontrollable or uncontestable by people in the mid-game, because Ulm doesn't have a super strong late game presence. They can, as long as their player thinks ahead of time and diversifies their options. But even late game, right, it can be very difficult for them to deal with certain things because they don't have the greatest mages. But there are ways around it. Well, the point that I'm trying to make is that Vanheim has gotten kind of big and scary, and the world as a whole, especially the immediately important world players, Ulm and Jotunheim, do seem pretty favorable towards the concept of dealing with Vanheim in some way, shape, form, or fashion. So I'm kind of working towards that. The issue there is I'm pretty sure Vanheim fully understands how weak I am. And if we get involved in a Vanheim conflict, I'm pretty sure Vanheim's going to go, okay, well, I can alpha strike Nazca and get them out of this conflict. Like, I either take so much territory from them to where they can't fight me, take so much territory or cause so much losses to them so that they have to immediately pull out, or just kill them, right? So I think Vanheim is aware that that is an option, and I'm not sure what to do about that just yet. So really kind of trying to like put my thinking cap on and trying to see what can we do research-wise, infrastructure-wise, negotiation-wise, etc., to kind of like figure out this situation. And then the last thing that I think some people are talking about, so Pelagia, number one, big issue. Vanheim, number two, pretty big issue. And I think I'm number three, right? And it's not because of an issue or because it's a threat or anything like that. I think people are talking about me from a global stage because of curiosity, right? Because I should definitely be dead now, but because of the chain of events, specifically the chain of events of partially me getting attacked by, or me repelling Agartha and then Ulm attacking Agartha, the Ulm attacking Agartha being the big part there. And then Vanheim attacking Ashdod, rather than Ashdod and Vanheim making sure to work together to make sure that I'm gone, right? So I think the thing is I'm less the topic of conversation, and it's more like, why is Nazca still alive is the topic of conversation. And the responses that I think a lot of people are or the things that I think a lot of people are talking about, or rumors going around, or those types of things, is a lot, maybe not a lot, but at least a little bit of flack being sent towards Ulm for getting in the way of Agartha dealing with me. Right? Like, so there are players that I think are like blaming Ulm for stepping in or attacking Agartha when Agartha was kind of like doing God's work, that type of thing, right? It's like knifing the player in the back who's dealing with Ermor or Lemuria, right? Is the kind of concept there. And then I think a little bit of the same kind of concept is going towards Vanheim from some players, but a lesser extent, right? The idea that Vanheim attacking Ashdod, those two not agreeing on the borders, and then Vanheim, right, kind of like, I don't know, pushing the issue or whatever, right? And now, what it looks to be like is putting an end to Ashdod is, again, leaving Nazca alive. I don't think that's going to matter in the long run. I think ultimately the Nazca existing side of things is just going to be like a red herring for a lot of people, but we'll see how that all kind of ends up. So, really interesting kind of like board states, but not a lot of interesting minute moves for us, at least. We should see some big battles between Ulm and Agartha in the very near future. I think that'll be cool. We're trying to look out for those. Hoping to see some pretty big battles between Vanheim and Ashdod in the near future. That would be pretty cool. I mean, in a perfect world, Ashdod would do to Vanheim what we did to Agartha, right? Like, Van would attack Ashdod and get just a horribly bloodied nose. I think the issue, though, is I don't think that's going to happen, one. Though it could happen. There's the right magic could do the right thing against Vanheim. It's just a matter of whether or not Ashdod has that and they employ it. So that's one thing. I don't think that's going to happen, because I think the Vanheim player is smart and prepping themselves well. And then the other thing that I don't really think that's going to happen is because Vanheim's got a lot of infrastructure. They have put up good infrastructure, and they're producing a lot in the meantime. Whereas Agartha was just kind of getting started, and then they lost a bunch from me, and then they lost a bunch from Ulm, and I don't think they have any real way to come back in. I also don't think Ashdod has any real way to come back in, right? Like, Vanheim, I think, is doing a really good job of, if they lost this entire stack, they're fine. They've got plenty more where that came from, right? Where I don't think that was the case with Agartha. I think the losses that they took were pretty catastrophic losses. So yeah, a bunch of interesting kind of like board state situations. Between Pelagia and Vanheim, that is almost half of the world's territory. So that's kind of scary, to basically be sandwiched in between those two forces. But it's turn 33. We're still alive. Still making something happen. We'll see what happens in the next couple turns. Fingers crossed. Bye-bye, everybody. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, consider leaving a like, commenting, or subscribing. It really helps me out. If you'd like to see me live, head over to my Twitch at twitch.tv/thedistanthorizon.